I'm going to go through the top 20 wide receiver rankings for 2024 fantasy football by comparing my rankings to expert consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros Today. So go down there, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support. So at number 1 and 2, I've had it like this whole offseason, and there's only just like a one-spot ranking. Both these guys are flipped right here between Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. Expert consensus rankings has Tyreek at 2 and CD number 1. Now, I don't really care which way you go with it. I've said all offseason, the reason I prefer Tyreek Hill still is because I know we're going to get tons of explosion games from Tyreek Hill, and I'm not saying that we won't get that from CeeDee Lamb. The bottom line is that with Tyreek Hill in specific, Tyreek Hill is on an offense that I just trust more to build more explosive plays, and he's also got other weapons that I trust more, whereas CeeDee Lamb, yes, he's fantastic, but there's nobody else in Dallas's wide receiver room that I actually trust that could fill the number 1 spot if CeeDee was to go down. Now, of course, that doesn't do anybody any good. What I mean by that is I don't think that CeeDee Lamb is going to get... I don't think he'll see one game this season where he's not facing at least double coverage and oftentimes triple coverage. So I have a feeling that he'll be able to be taken out of more games and maybe have some less explosion games than Tyreek will. We're literally splitting hairs here at number 1 and 2, though. Fine with either way you go. At number 3, I've got Ja'Marr Chase. We're right on line here with expert consensus. Number 3 on their rankings as well. Ja'Marr Chase, I think if you just give him a fully healthy season with a healthy Joe Burrow, he's a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy. We just haven't seen that level of upside from him since his rookie year. You go back to 2022 in his second year, what happened that season? Well, Joe Burrow started out the season unhealthy, came back healthy, but Ja'Marr Chase missed several games. He missed like 5 games. 2023, missed some time, and then Joe Burrow, of course, misses the back half of the season. So I think if you put them both together on the same offense, Ja'Marr Chase is without a doubt a 10 target a game type of guy, but he's also a guy that's going to give you 40-point massive explosion games, give you that wide receiver 3 upside. At number 4 and 5, I might sound really ridiculous for doing this, but I'm doing it anyway because I just have a feeling Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to finish higher than Justin Jefferson. I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown at 4. He's expert consensus ranking number 5, and Justin Jefferson is expert consensus ranking number 4. Again, I don't have a problem whichever way you go. I have a feeling this is just going to happen this year. Line the two guys up. Amon-Ra St. Brown they both just got a contract extension, right? They're both obviously top 5 to 10 wide receivers in football without question. Justin Jefferson comes into a new year on a new deal with a rookie quarterback now. So he hasn't had time to build any chemistry with JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, whoever's going to be their guy this year up to this point. Amon-Ra St. Brown has had his whole career to work with Jared Goff. He knows exactly what he's getting. Nothing has changed in Detroit. It's the same offense. Just keep on building the continuity between that offense with an expert offensive coordinator. Minnesota, I love Kevin O'Connell, but I don't really love their quarterback situation right now. And again, we're literally splitting hairs on this one, guys. So however you rank them, let me know in the comments either way. But I'm just saying, I have a feeling we're going to see Amon-Ra St. Brown be above Justin Jefferson this year. Puka Nacua and AJ Brown at 6 and 7 here. Now again, they're flipped. Puka Nacua's expert consensus ranking number 7, and AJ Brown's number 6. Again, it really doesn't matter to me which way you go here either. I haven't had my first big disagreement yet. That's going to come. There's some rankings later on in this video where I do not see eye to eye. Expert consensus rankings. Top 8, guys, I'm really inconsistent. Like, everybody's consistent. Puka Nacua, great offense. Matt Stafford worries me a little bit, but with AJ Brown, the thing that worries me with him, Jalen Hurts worries me too. I probably have more belief in Jalen Hurts at this point than I do with Matt Stafford, but I believe in Puka being able to separate himself target-wise more than I believe AJ Brown will. Because AJ Brown, the thing about him, yeah, he just got a contract extension, but so did Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith's still on that team, still in the prime of his career, and so he's not going away. Cooper Kupp, I think, is going away. So Puka Nacua, as far as I'm concerned, he's pulled away from Cooper Kupp as the clear wide receiver 1 in Los Angeles. AJ Brown is the wide receiver 1 in Philly for sure, but I do think that he's going to see more target competition on a more consistent basis than Puka Nacua will. At number 8, Garrett Wilson. We're all in consensus, really. Garrett Wilson's number 8 here. Expert consensus ranking has him here. I've got him here. And I don't think I'm out on a limb saying that I'm not the only one who thinks that he has top 5 upside. If everything goes right this year, and we don't even need, I've said this before, we don't need Aaron Rodgers to be MVP level Aaron Rodgers for Garrett Wilson to see top 10, top 5 upside. We don't need that. Even if he's 80%, I would even say 75% of what he used to be as a player, it will be so much better than he has ever gotten in his NFL career. So much better. Just a consistent Aaron Rodgers is better than Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, all the garbage they've had that Garrett Wilson has still been able to produce 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons with the beginning of his career. Garrett Wilson's elite. Nobody's questioning that. 9 and 10. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Nico Collins for me. Now, this is where we start having some disagreements with expert consensus. Marvin Harrison Jr. is number 12 in expert consensus rankings, and Nico Collins is number 17. I don't understand Nico Collins. I understand Marvin more than I understand Nico. With Marvin Harrison, it's like I can understand when you're looking at expert consensus rankings right here, the guys above Marvin are Mike Evans, Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel Jr. It's like, yeah, we've seen top 12 production from all those guys right here, and we know that they can do it. Why can't they do it again? I could pick apart more weaknesses with Mike Evans. He's in his 30s now. Now with Baker Mayfield another year, without Dave Canales, how does that offense respond without an elite offensive coach? Brandon Aiyuk, contract dispute. Who knows if he even plays for San Fran this year? And the Deebo Samuel, so boomer bust every single year, because not only is he not the healthiest guy in the NFL, but he also does not concede consistent target share. So it all depends on how much rushing upside he has. Marvin Harrison Jr. with a top 5 pick to Arizona is the clear wide receiver 1 for Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is good enough to deliver with a guy in a top 12 fashion. And Kyler Murray really hasn't ever had the chance to get a guy on the level of Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. is elite. I got him at number 9. I'm all in. And Nico Collins, I think I'm definitely on the riskier side on this one. I'm a big Nico guy. I traded for him for way too much draft capital during the offseason, this offseason, before they acquired Diggs. I don't regret having Nico, but I regret what I gave up for him, being that it was the 103. So I think that Nico Collins is an elite player. I think he broke out last year, and I think we'll see more of that. One thing that obviously I understand why he's lower in expert consensus rankings is because he had less than 110 targets last year. It's very hard to sustain top 12 wide receiver status if you're not sustaining more than 130, 40 targets. And who's to say he jumps up to that range with Diggs now? It's hard to see, but I definitely see it more than expert consensus rankings does because I do not understand having him at wide receiver 17. Brandon Aiyuk and Chris Olave at 11 and 12. Now we're back kind of on the same track here. They've got Aiyuk at wide receiver 10 and Olave at wide receiver 13. And for me, Brandon Aiyuk, he was above Nico last time I did these rankings, but obviously I have to move him down just a little bit because of the uncertainty that's going on. And not to mention as well, very similar to Nico last year, super efficient on minimal targets. It's not a great thing. Brandon Aiyuk had under 110 targets, as well as Nico Collins. So even if he stays in San Francisco, what is the chances that he sees 130 targets with a new rookie wide receiver in the first round, Ricky Pearsall? It's not impossible again with Nico Collins, but it's cause for concern. I like Aiyuk. I've drafted a ton of them on Underdog. I'd advise you doing the same using code FFN to get a first-time deposit match up to $250 here. I'd advise you to go draft Brandon Aiyuk right now. But I'm not saying it's without risk here. With Chris Olave, there's less risk, but I don't think it's much upside. In fact, I think I would cap out Olave's upside right around at 12. I just think he's got weaknesses with the quarterback, with Derek Carr, and with the offense as a whole. I think the Saints offense is the most stale offense in the entire league. Nothing was done. Quarterback's still the same. Wide receiver room's the same without Michael Thomas, but that was over years ago. Alvin Kamara's still their guy. Like, they're just so stale in every sense of the word offensively. I think that he's just going to continue to build importance in the offense, but I don't know how we're going to see much more upside from a player who has been the wide receiver 1 since day 1 without a quarterback upgrade. So Olave, I think he's kind of capped around the wide receiver 12 range, which is good production here, but I think we're right around the money here with Chris Olave. Michael Pittman Jr. at 13 for me, and Davante Adams at 14. Now, Michael Pittman Jr., I've got a major disagreement with ECR on this one. Expert consensus ranking, wide receiver 24. This one makes no sense. And I'm trying not to sound arrogant, right? Like, everybody has their own opinion. That's what's great about coming to YouTube for fantasy football discussions. Like, everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, right? And I definitely hold myself in high standard when it comes to ranking wide receivers. Michael Pittman Jr., there's really no flaws here that I would say he's outside of the top 20 wide receivers this year. Look at what he did last year with their new offensive coach. Ever since Shane Steichen was the offensive coach, which was 1 year, Michael Pittman Jr. was the wide receiver 15. And you can see on the screen the targets per game, elite, true number 1 wide receiver numbers. And keep in mind, that was without Anthony Richardson. That was with Gardner Minshew most of the time. So, where is this world with a healthy Anthony Richardson where he's going to drop 10 spots from his ranking last year? That world doesn't exist. I do not agree at all with this one. Very confident in my ranking on Michael Pittman here. And then Davante Adams, ironically, has the quarterback that Pittman had last year. And listen, Davante's dropped for me. And I actually went through this in a video a week ago where I was discussing the guys who might be hitting a cliff at the wide receiver position. Davante was in that group. He's going to be 32 in November. So he'll be 32 by midseason, basically. He's also in a situation where a quarterback downgrade is again happening for the 3rd straight year now. And he's a guy that has had 4 consecutive top 12 fantasy football seasons. And the cap on consecutive seasons over the past 10 years has been 6. Davante's already had 6 top 12 wide receiver tenures. I have a feeling this is the year we're going to see him out. But I'm not saying that he's going to go into fantasy football scrutiny and never be heard of again. I think he'll still be relevant because he's obviously the best target in Las Vegas. 15, 16, and 17. I bunched these guys together because I have major, again, just disagreements here with ECR. Drake London at 15, Stephon Diggs at 16, and Mike Evans at 17. So with Drake London in particular, let's hone in on him for a second. ECR ranking of wide receiver 18. Now, it's not like that's a big disagreement, right? But again, I'm just looking at it from the Marvin Harrison Jr. perspective. Let's go back and look at who they've got ranked over him. They've got guys like DK Metcalf ranked over him. DK Metcalf, every single year, has produced less in fantasy football. Every year since 2021, it's been going downhill for DK Metcalf. That's not a good sign, especially with a wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba, that they drafted in round 1 in 2023. He's surely to grow. No way he finishes as a top 15 guy unless there's an injury, I don't think. And then with DJ Moore, I like DJ Moore. We'll talk about him here in a minute. But I have trouble seeing the top 15 upside with 2 other really great options with a rookie quarterback who we don't know who he'll prefer to throw to. So with Drake London, we know he's the guy in Atlanta. He's already had 2 straight years as the number 1 option for Atlanta. Now gets, theoretically, a better quarterback with Kirk Cousins. And even if it's Michael Penix, like I have floated around all offseason, I think it's a very good possibility we see Penix at some point this year. But I would say it's probably likely we start off with Kirk Cousins here, as long as he can heal back at this point. I don't understand why he'd be lower than like a wide receiver 15. And I've made my concerns public with Drake London here, but I think wide receiver 18 is a little bit too low. Stephon Diggs is the wide receiver 27 on expert consensus here. That I can understand it to a point, because it's like with Stephon Diggs here, he was in that same video that I was just discussing with Davante Adams about guys hitting the cliff. I have slight concerns with Diggs hitting that cliff because Diggs has already had plenty of top 12 seasons as well. And he's on a new team now with 2 wide receivers that CJ Stroud grew with last year. So we know one thing about Diggs. He's going to gripe if he doesn't get the ball. So it could blow up the whole operation if it doesn't work out for Diggs the way he wants it to. But I have trouble seeing it working out exactly the way he wants it to. The only question is, what will he prefer? Will he prefer to be in this offense because he knows it has a chance to win a Super Bowl? Or does he blow the whole thing up because he's not getting his touches here? Bottom line is, I like Diggs better than consensus rankings here because the offense is so high flying with CJ Stroud. Very comparable to the Bengals offense, where I just want 2, maybe 3 of those wide receivers in all of my fantasy football leagues, at least a share of one of them. And then with Mike Evans here, I've got him well below. Expert consensus ranking wide receiver 11. Again, talked about him in that video about the wide receiver cliff. And I have concerns with Mike Evans because of the fact that he's been outstandingly productive basically since day one. He was great last year, and it was kind of a little bit of an unpredictable season last year, really. Mike Evans has always floated around 130 targets a year. And so with another year with Baker Mayfield, I'm not necessarily doubting the target share that he's going to see. What I am doubting with Mike Evans is the fact that Baker Mayfield could do it again without Dave Canales. I think Dave Canales was a huge part of that offense. And again, I like Mike Evans. I've drafted him a couple times, not a ton, but I will draft Mike Evans. I don't have a huge issue with doing it. But I definitely do not see another top 12 season for Mike Evans unless he has another massive touchdown year. And again, I just think without Dave Canales, things are more unlikely to go that way. DJ Moore and Malik Neighbors at 18 and 19. DJ Moore is the expert consensus ranking wide receiver 15, like I said earlier. And like I said, I like DJ Moore. I think we all, as a fantasy community, understand that DJ Moore got screwed for so many years in Carolina, and he finally had that breakout year with Justin Fields last year. Keyword, Justin Fields. He does not have Justin Fields anymore. I get it. Number 1 overall pick with Caleb Williams. Best quarterback prospect we've seen since Joe Burrow, probably. So it's like, yeah, he maybe naturally want to throw to DJ Moore, right? Who's to say that's the case? A new quarterback comes in, he prefers whoever he prefers. So I see issues here for DJ Moore. I'm not saying I definitely think he's going to bust. I would not say avoid drafting him. But I don't see why people are so bullish on DJ Moore because I've seen a lot of channels really bullish on him. I don't really get it, to be honest here. High upside guy, but I do not see the sustainability with the target share last year when you've got 2 other alpha wide receivers joining you. And Malik Neighbors, wide receiver 28 expert consensus. I was actually really shocked to learn that ranking. I thought I might be a little bit low on him. And granted, he has risen up in my rankings consistently over the past month. And I hate the landing spot for him because of Daniel Jones. I think that he will be capped upside-wise because of that. But it's not because of lack of volume. He's going to be an immediate 120, 130 target guy. I think at the very minimum, unless he misses time. There's no question he's going to get tons of volume. The question is, what's the efficiency he's going to get with Daniel Jones at quarterback, and how often can he get in the red zone? Because I don't think this is going to be a team that's going to get in the red zone much. So I think Malik Neighbors, very wide range of outcomes that we could see with him. I'll bank on him. I banked on him in underdog drafts. I'll do it again. And it's actually really shocking to see him this low in expert consensus rankings. Last but certainly not least in these rankings, I'm just going to continue to beat this drum all offseason until everybody gets it. Jordan Addison is at wide receiver 20, and he is the expert consensus ranking wide receiver 41. Somebody tell me if I'm crazy because I'm starting to feel like it. I don't understand why he is so low in people's rankings this year. Jordan Addison was the wide receiver 21 last year as a rookie. Okay, so we've seen the upside from Jordan Addison. And by the way, the argument that, well, Kirk Cousins is going to be there. Do you remember when Kirk Cousins missed basically the back half of last year? Yeah, that happened. And Jordan Addison was still very lethal and very productive. So even if JJ McCarthy is not an upgrade, even if Sam Darnold cannot sustain production like Kirk Cousins did, in what world do we see Jordan Addison dropping 20 spots in his finish? That world does not exist. I will continue to shout about Jordan Addison this year because he is my guy in 2024 fantasy football. So let me know what you think of the rankings in the comments below and who your guy is in 2024 fantasy football.